Welcome to Guitar for Dummies. This is lesson 3, and we're going to go with string replacement. So as always, we try to have a review of what we've done, and for lesson 1, we was picking a guitar. You had so little knowledge, you didn't even really know how to play to help or to pick one out. So hopefully we helped you if you were that new to the experience of guitar. We talked about tuning in lesson 2, and the basic summary was get a tuner. Get you a cheap little tuner, and it'll be so nice for you. But here in lesson 3, as you know, I always try to have logic, and I'd love to do something else, but I just think the next step is you're going to break a string, and let's do this, just so if somebody's new, they'll know how to put a string on their guitar in case that gives them trouble. So moving on from there, let me think here. This will be more hands-on. Don't necessarily like that. I like having background graphics, but we're just going to have to look at it. So I've never studied on this. I just kind of went and did it when I started playing and have never really looked it up. So this is how I do it, common sense, and you might want to do some research and be careful with your instrument. So here we have a guitar, obviously. And we know that there's strings down here and pegs. I'll call them pegs on this one. Now, electric guitars and things can have all kind of Allen wrench things. And we're going to look at a mandolin here in a second that just kind of hooks on a hook down there. But fairly common to most of them is up here. You're going to have the pegs and where you wind your string around. And we'll be looking at that hopefully zoomed in here in just a minute. I do have another guitar where even up top, once you tune it, it has some Allen wrench things you tighten down. So you'll see some variations on different guitars with their strings. So when you go to change the strings, I've heard people say you should do it about every 6 months. And of course, you might break them. You get serious, you might be popping a few even before that time frame's up. But it does seem over time the tension gets out. They may be dry, maybe, or whatever, just not as pliable. You seem to get a fresher, more vibrant sound with the new sets of strings. So it's a good thing to replace them. I'm trying to think of more things to say there. Now, as we do this, here's something. The ends, especially on your higher strings, are very small and sharp, like a needle. And if I poke, don't laugh at me too much today as I touch these. So be careful on those, and when you cut them off or leave strings around, kind of like a little hazard in the house. Try to pick your pieces up and things of that nature on your strings. So if your string is popped, you might have a remnant up here you'll want to kind of clean up. Some tools I normally use, I like to have a pair of pliers, something like that, with almost like a curved head that fits nice under the peg. And maybe there's something specific for that, but it's a good thing to pull these pegs up here in a minute. And it can scuff your peg a little, so you might want to be very tender and gentle. And as you'll see, you'll want to take the tension off that before you go popping the peg up with something like that. About the only other tool I'm using, you might have a little wire cutter or something, but something neat, and I found it combined. As a matter of fact, this probably is it's probably what that thing's for. It's probably to pull the peg out right there. But here's the thing, I had something similar years ago, but when I used my 12 string, you get so tired of tuning and turning. There's a little spinner thing you can put and use that to turn and tighten. And so as you're doing 12 pegs, you can kind of have a little thing to help you tighten the strings. This one actually has a wire cutter on it too. So when we're done, we can snip it real nice with that tool. And again, I have a feeling that might be a peg puller right there, but not sure. Have never read the directions. So again, if we were truly going to change the strings on this, I would loosen the peg, and you can see how it winds. It's important to note, as I follow that string up, they come to the inside and wind around this way normally, not from the outside and winding back in. So what I would normally do is loosen that quite a bit, get a lot of that tension off the string, might even go all the way and just totally take it out of that. And then when that string was totally loose, let me get this out of my way. When that string was totally loose, I would then go down here to the bottom of these pegs. think that's loose enough. Let me go ahead and pull this peg just a little so you see it. I'm loosening the string a little more in case someone might have a little 5-year-old out there doing this truthfully, but as I'm putting a little pressure under that peg, I should be able to pop it up out of there. So here, let's try the light string. I put my plier under it. Oh, now that one came out and flew in my eye. No, there it is. So at least, see if that helps any, but kind of has a flat side and a round side. So I'm going to go ahead and sneak that back over top, taking the flat side towards the string, and I'm just shoving it back over that string. And so that's, again, we're going to focus on the mandolin from now on because it's smaller and easier for me to show you, but you get your peg in there with your new string. And as we'll show in the mandolin, we'll take our new string up towards the peg at the top and start spinning. So let's make that change now. Let's go to the mandolin there. It's very similar, but now hopefully we can handle it a little easier. So the only difference on this is, let me see, put some lights back on for you again. The only difference on this, instead of having the pegs to pop out, this just has these little hooks on the bottom. And so it's going to be easier for me to do that quickly, smaller to handle, and top very similar. So we'll show you a few things here more before we end the video, but you can see got a wire kind of hanging there, so I'm going to have to do my old man thing here, put my glasses on. I can't see that close. So let's see here. That's the new one. Okay, here, bottom string. I've actually replaced the second string up, but it's the bottom string that I'm focusing on. So I'm going to kind of use pliers and cutters and just clean that old string up there. Try not to poke myself with it. There's a little string there. I mean, that's so little you can't hardly see it, but that's what'll get you. Okay, so now I have totally removed that bottom string. Matter of fact, here's the string I did. Let's get that out of the way. You can see that it flops around. Once you put a string on, there'll be extra like that. And some people tie it up and all this, but I like to cut them off. I like to leave just a little bit, you know, probably inch and a half or so, and just kind of chop him there. You don't want to cut it so close to the peg that it, you know, has to keep a little bit out to have that, you know, it's almost like a leverage, if you will, to keep from unspinning or working its way back out of the hole there. So that's cutting the string off once you've got it on there. Now let me find this other new string here. Here is the other new string. Let me zoom out a second and show you a few things. When you buy strings, they'll be in a pack, something like that. And depending if you got a 6-string or a 12-string, you want to make sure it's for the instrument that you want to be for: electric guitar, acoustic guitar, mandolin. Again, whether it's 6-string, 12-string, and this one, that 12 up there doesn't mean a 12-string. It's like the gauge of the wire and stuff. So you don't want to get confused on that being a 12-string. This was just a 6-string pack. And nice strings, sometimes individually packaged. Like this one has individual wrappers for each string. And the mandolin set I just got out came in, it was in a nice outer package too. And they sometimes labeled, have your string weights and things. This particular one had plastic on the inside, different strings wound, at least organized. And here's some more of them. It was, at least they were organized with color-coded tabs. And I've already removed the other very light one for the high strings here. Oh, my glasses have popped. Having trouble. So on this mandolin, it's so simple. Let me zoom in again so we're a little bit better off here on the zoom in. So on this one, all I have to do on this particular one is come up under this bridge down here. So dexterity, or lack thereof, dexterity. On this one, all I have to do is take this hook, and since I like to fish, this is right up my alley. You kind of want to be careful you don't bend and kink the string too. You know, real sharp bend will put a kink in it and weaken it, so try to not bend too much improperly. So I'm hooking that on that, and it slipped off. Okay, I've got him. I believe I've got him there. I'm having trouble seeing. He's at least hooked now on that. So now, the challenge of coordination. Let's back out just a little. Now I've got that string hooked down there. I want to keep enough tension that it don't pop off. And I'm coming up here to my peg. And, you know, personal preference, I kind of like mine. I've got the hole in the side, which you can't hardly see. I've got the hole in the side kind of cranked with this thing. You might be able to see it there. The hole is right there. It's not up straight down through top. It's kind of right in the side there. And that, I kind of almost always do that. I'm coming up like we told you on the inside of the peg, going over the top, and don't want to bend too sharp and damage the string. But once I come over that top, I'm going back through that hole, grabbing it. And so you need to leave a little bit of looseness there. If you pay attention, you can see I've left a little room. You go too tight, you won't have enough to wind around the peg and let it have, if you will, friction on itself. So leaving a fat finger or two in there. And then I'm going to actually kind of release up here. I know it's hard to see. See how I'm pulling that back towards that peg down there? So now I've got it wrapped around the wire. Yep, my extra, I'm kind of putting it over top of the one that's coming up. Just kind of a habit. But I have tension that I hold one way or the other. Like this is tight enough I can literally take my hand kind of like that, and I'm keeping tension on that. So let me back out now a little bit here. So we've got on the bridge, we're hooked, we've came up and we're wrapped partly around the peg, and now I just need to make sure I turn the right way and start tightening that peg up. So it's getting to the point, you know, I can, see, I poke myself with that. So now I keep on tightening. Get you a little more perspective here. Keep it on tightening that string. It had wrapped around. You got to make sure it's on top of the bridge here. And you'll see too, another thing I didn't mention, there's little grooves up here on the neck where it'll fit in that. And so when we get done, we want to make sure they're in those grooves. I think I can take my glasses off now. I think we're good enough there. But still not totally tight yet. I still got room for my thumb in that string, so I'm going to keep on tightening. Whew. So I can see it's on my bridge right in the groove. It's correct up here. There it is, and I'm ready now to get my tuner out and start tuning. Whew. Well, that was harder work than we hoped. It wasn't the best thing in the world, but at least gives somebody who maybe has never done this before an idea of what they're getting into if they go to do that. I'm sure stores would sell you strings, maybe put them on, or buddies maybe would love to do that for you, help you out, but you would again do all your strings, get them tuned up about every 6 months or when you break them, and then you'll have nice strings on your instrument. Hope that helps somebody.